Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into the surprisingly emotional, highly frustrating, and, well, ultimately heartwarming world of learning to tie our shoes. It's a rite of passage, right? Almost every single one of us goes through it. But if you've ever actually tried to teach a child to do it, you know it feels way less like a beautiful milestone and a lot more like trying to defuse a literal bomb while the school bus is honking in your driveway. You're sweating, the kid is crying, the cereal's getting soggy, and those floppy laces are just sitting there mocking you. And honestly, there's a good reason for the struggle. Believe it or not, the simple act of tying a shoe, it involves 26 distinct micro movements. 26. When you stop and break down all the pinching, the looping, crossing, tucking, and pulling, it makes total sense why these morning meltdowns are happening in households everywhere. We're essentially asking little kids, with their tiny developing hands and, let's face it, limited attention spans, to execute a flawless 26-step tactical operation before they've even finished their breakfast. And the reality in classrooms is just as messy. Take this quote, for example. "You won't have to postpone a lesson to show Timmy how to tie his pea-soaked shoelaces for the 30th time that day." Yeah, any parent or teacher knows this hilarious, deeply gross, and completely universal struggle all too well. Educators are literally losing their minds and their precious instructional time, bending over to tie wet, mystery liquid-soaked shoelaces over and over again. It's a daily, frankly unsanitary battle that tests the patience of even the most saintly kindergarten teachers.
This daily nightmare usually ends in tears. Tears of frustration for the kids who just want to go out and play, and overwhelming stress for the adults frantically trying to get them out the door. Just think about the heavy sighs, that sheer defeat, that moment you just give up and violently shove their foot into the shoe just so you don't miss the bus. It's a high-pressure ordeal that leaves absolutely everyone feeling like they've failed before the day has even started.
Which brings us to Section 1, the Velcro Effect, convenience versus skill. So why is there a growing skill lag in school-age children today? Well, because we've increasingly bypassed laces altogether to just avoid that morning chaos, right? We're now seeing a massive skill lag. It's gotten to the point where grizzled, clipboard-wielding middle school athletic coaches are actually having to get down on their knees and tie shoes for preteens. No way, right? But it's true. Because we opted for slip-ons and easy closures when they were toddlers, 12 and 13-year-olds are showing up to sports practices completely unable to secure their own cleats. We essentially made a massive societal trade-off here. We traded the glorious lifelong mastery of tying laces, which, by the way, builds genuine independence, for the quick, cheap convenience of hook and loop fasteners like Velcro. Sure, skipping the laces completely solves the immediate panic-inducing problem of getting shoes on so you can rush out the door, but it entirely skips a really vital developmental milestone in a child's life. And skipping that milestone, it comes with a hidden, heavy cost. See, tying shoes is one of the very first times a child practices asymmetrical bilateral coordination. I know, it's a fancy way of describing the ability to use both hands to execute different synchronized actions at the exact same time. Basically, it's the childhood equivalent of trying to pat your head and rub your belly while riding a unicycle. By avoiding laces, we're accidentally robbing kids of developing this crucial neurological foundation. And they desperately need that foundation for other critical life skills, like handwriting, using scissors, or manipulating complex tools.
Okay, Section 2, a teacher's clever solution.
Enter our underdog hero, Bobby Morong. He's a veteran special education and physical education teacher from the Boston area. Bobby spent 20 years in the trenches, dealing with this exact, exhausting shoelace problem every single day. He noticed that his academically capable students, particularly those with autism, were really struggling with the practical skill of managing their laces. Now, it wasn't an intelligence issue. It was a structural and motor planning issue. So, acting kind of like the mad scientist of the special ed world, Bobby started hacking together solutions right there in his classroom lab. He started using two-colored shoelaces to simplify his instructions. Instead of saying confusing things like left and right, he could just say, "Cross the blue over the red." Then the plot thickened in a beautifully unexpected way. In 2020, Bobby tragically lost his teaching job due to the devastating impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. But this crushing setback actually turned into an incredible pivot. His wife, Nikki, who happens to be a brilliant and savvy financial planner, saw a massive opportunity hiding in his special ed hack. She encouraged him to take that brilliant little classroom invention and turn it into a real, life-changing family business. And that is exactly how Training Ties was born.
This brightly colored, undeniably genius little device is proudly made right here in the USA from waterproof vegan leather. It's a completely revolutionary way to look at footwear. No more soaked laces, no more screaming matches in the hallway. Just a simple, durable tool designed to tackle one of childhood's most frustrating hurdles head on.
Moving on to Section 3, checkpoints for your laces. The secret sauce here lies in a brilliant concept Bobby calls checkpoint technology. Now, unlike elastic no-tie laces that act as a permanent crutch, essentially bypassing the learning process entirely, training ties act as a pedagogical scaffold, a temporary support system to actually teach the skill. They are literally training wheels for your sneakers. You use them to learn the balance and the mechanics, and eventually, you just don't need them anymore. So, how does it work? Well, this patented checkpoint technology physically holds the laces securely in place at critical moments. First, it locks in the base knot. Then it holds that famously floppy bunny ear completely steady. This means a child can physically let go of the lace, take a deep, calming breath, think about their next move, and, crucially, not watch their knot completely fall apart before their eyes. It essentially creates save points exactly like a video game. If they mess up step 3, they don't have to restart the entire frustrating level. Their progress is saved, which totally eliminates the panic and the tears. The results of this simple change are absolutely staggering. By offloading that heavy working memory, significantly reducing the sensory load, and turning 26 frustrating micro-movements into just 5 easy checkpoints, kids are experiencing massive initial success. And it is happening fast. We're talking about going from months of screaming, kicking, and tears to total, glorious mastery in just 10 to 15 minutes. Let that sink in for a second. A major childhood milestone conquered in a quarter of an hour. Section 4, Tears of Joy. Look at this quote from Lisa R., a parent. My son has autism, and tying shoes felt like an impossible task for him. Training ties changed everything. Now he's so proud every time he ties his shoes. This right here, the profound emotional transformation this little tool creates for families, is what gives you absolute goosebumps. For neurodivergent children or kids with dyspraxia, which is a condition affecting physical coordination, the built-in tension control is completely life-changing. It takes a seemingly impossible, overwhelming physical challenge and turns it into a massively proud victory. That raw feeling of I did it is simply invaluable. And the teachers? Oh, they love it too. Ms. Rodriguez, a kindergarten teacher, says, every single one of my students can now tie their shoes independently. The confidence boost is incredible. Teachers are getting their sanity back. They are finally reclaiming their precious classroom time. They no longer have to pause their math or reading lessons to run a makeshift triage center for untied sneakers. They're officially out of the shoe tying business, freeing them up to actually teach. Here's another parent testimonial. My daughter went from tears every morning to proudly showing off her tied shoes. It taught her she could do hard things. Honestly, that's the core of it. It taught her she could do hard things. These aren't just tears of relief over footwear. They are tears of profound joy because the child just unlocked a massive dose of self-esteem. They learn that with the right strategy and just a little bit of support, they can conquer the mountains in their path. It reframes a daily failure into a daily triumph. Section 5, Stepping into Independence. So what's the big takeaway here? Mastering the simple loop and pull does so much more than just keep their sneakers from flying off on the playground. It actively builds those critical fine motor skills. It fosters true independence. It teaches our kids frustration tolerance, allowing them to delay gratification and build a resilient growth mindset that is going to serve them for the rest of their entire lives. Oh, and as a fantastic, totally practical bonus, it actually keeps the laces tied all day long. It is definitely time to say no to Velcro and yes to true independence. This brilliant little invention shows us a really powerful philosophy. We don't always need to completely eliminate a hurdle by replacing it with sheer, cheap convenience. Actually, scratch that. Sometimes we don't need to lower the hurdle at all. We just need to provide our kids with the right ladder so they can climb over it themselves. Which leaves us with a pretty fascinating thought. If a clever little checkpoint can conquer the impossible shoelace, what other childhood struggles are just waiting for the right pair of training wheels? It really is inspiring to wonder how many other frustrating, explosive daily battles could be entirely transformed into moments of deep pride and self-worth, with just a little bit of structural empathy. Thank you for joining me on this explainer. Here's to helping the next generation step confidently into the world and tie their own shoes one bunny ear at a time. Keep learning.